Hi, my name is Lily Grimes, and this is the project that I did. I'll do a close-up too. So this is the San Francisco Peak. It is one of the 4 sacred mountains that are sacred to the Navajo people. They use the resources from these mountains, the soil, the rocks, the bird feathers, the bones, the water, pretty much everything. They use these resources in order to make medicine bundles. And these medicine bundles are important because the Navajo religion is different from a lot of other religions that we're familiar with. While there's things like communion and baptisms and celebrating the Sabbath, the Navajo religion doesn't really have any of that. Instead, they only hold ceremonies if someone is sick. So they use the resources from these sacred mountains to make these medicine bundles, and then these medicine men can administer the bundles to the people, and they do these ceremonies and people sing and they dance, and it's supposed to heal the person that is ill. So these resources are crucial to the Navajo religion because without these resources, they have no medicine bundles. And without these medicine bundles, they cannot heal any of their people and they cannot perform any of their ceremonies. So I think people should care because it's the equivalent of the US government telling like Catholics that they can no longer pray in their church. Denying the Navajo people the right to clean sacred resources is like denying any other religious organization of their religious traditions and rituals. So it's really important that we understand that this may just be a mountain to some people, but for the people of the Navajo religion, this is their religion. This is sacred, right? So the theory that I decided to use that I think most closely correlates with this issue is the systemic racism theory, because the US government and the big corporations like the Ski Resort Corporation, they're denying religious rights and freedoms to the Navajo people. And obviously they are denying these freedoms because they are Native Americans. If this was like a Baptist community who said that this was their sacred place, then I can guarantee that it would not have been touched. But because that it was the Navajo people who said this is our sacred place, the US government and the corporation that made the ski resort did nothing in order to resolve the issue. Another problem is that, and this goes alongside with the systemic racism theory, the US government refuses to acknowledge that these 4 mountains are sacred religious places of the Navajo people. The Navajo people live on a reservation in Colorado, and these mountains, they surround the reservation like 4 corners. And even though the Navajo people have said like this is our mountain, like we get our resources from here, the US government refuses to acknowledge it. So what makes the systemic racism theory better than other theories? I mean, I feel like the systemic racism theory most closely correlates to what this problem is, right? Because the problem is that the US government and big corporations are denying the religious freedoms of Native American people. And we can see a history of Native American people being denied rights, the right to own their land, the right to live in America, the right to keep their children, the right to not have to assimilate, right? They've been denied these rights over and over and over again. And so I feel like the systemic racism theory, it shows that because America was built and made, and all of these companies and corporations were built and made off of the discrimination of Native American people, that this still has effects in politics and in corporations today. And that is exactly what we see with the San Francisco Peaks. So experts that I'm drawing from two places. One is actually my religion professor. It is a Religions of the World course that I happened to take this semester, and we talked about the Navajo people and the Navajo religion, and this is how this problem was initially brought to my attention. And so I decided to research it, and I found an article which I've linked in my essay, that goes into more detail and describes like what the Navajo people have tried to do in order to keep this land, but it explains like, you know, how they were denied, how they weren't listened to. So that is the two main experts I'm drawing from, my professor and the article that I read. So lastly, I just wanted to do a close-up. I drew a cage here with a sign, and the sign says Native American land, and it's pointing to the cage, because I wanted to show that it symbolizes American society as a whole, as well as the problem at hand, where the US government will say like, oh, we care about Native Americans, and we care about their rights, and, you know, we let them keep their reservations and blah 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 blah. But whenever Native American people actually say, hey, this is ours, this is important to us, can you please help us keep it? Time and time again, the US government says no. And in this case, these mountains were not deemed as sacred or special, and they even told the Navajo people that they could just get these resources from anywhere, that it doesn't have to just be from here. So they're not being listened to, and they're being confined to this small cage, where they can't do anything. They can't be who they want to be. They already can't live where they want. Their ancestors have been taken away from them. So many of them have been killed. Still, so many are being hunted, and now they don't even have the religious freedom of collecting resources from a mountain. Even that has been taken away from them. So yeah, I believe that is it. One more time, this is my project, and thank you for watching.